George Rose, big announcement today. Tim Tszyu mandated for an IBF World Title. Talk us through how this came about, because obviously we're all expecting an eliminator on September 22nd.
Yeah, look, it came around through that. Ericsson Lubin obviously withdrew from the purse bids from the race for the fight against Tim Tszyu, and as a result, we moved straight up, and the opportunity was there to fight Murtazaliev, and it was bittersweet. Obviously, we're all disappointed by missing out on the Lubin fight, and I think most of Australia was disappointed by it. But it's a fight that can happen at some other stage, because right now we're zoned right in on the IBF World Title.
Would you say this is perhaps the most important fight of Tim's career? Because if he's to win this fight, he goes straight back in and can sort of command those massive fights against the likes of Crawford and the others.
Yeah, well, look, he's back in the position, where he was 6 months ago, when he was the WBO world champion, and he was really making huge waves in the division. And I think now everyone knows that he is the guy in the division. He is the name in the division that everybody wants to get the opportunity at taking down. If you want to be undisputed, you want to be the king of the division. Tim Tszyu owns this division, and by winning this world title, it really puts him back into the conversations that he was in.
What needs to happen now to sort of get this fight locked in, a venue, a date? What happens from here?
Yeah, look, a lot of hard work's obviously gone in to secure this position that we're in right now, to be mandated and have the opportunity, but it is only the beginning. The next stage happens where we negotiate hard with Murtazaliev's team and really hope that we can get a positive outcome for both fighters, for boxing fans and for our Australian fans.
What are you thinking? If it doesn't go to purse bids and you can reach an agreement, would it most likely be perhaps in LA, or would you see it happening back here in Australia? What's the preference?
Yeah, look, there's a big chance that this fight will end up in the USA, and we're fine with that. We've been to fight in Vegas before, and while the outcome didn't go our way, it was a great experience, and I think that it's something that nobody in Team Tszyu or at No Limit Boxing is concerned about heading back to do again. And is that coming through here? Sorry,
No, it's all good.
you're not hearing that?
No, it's
Yeah,
all good.
there's a fire alarm warning thing going
Oh,
on.
sure.
Um, yeah, so if we have to fight in the USA, we have to fight in the USA. It is what it is. It's something that's part of what we want to do along this journey anyway. But I know how excited Australian fans get to have Tim Tszyu fighting in Australia. We get great support here. We get a great buzz when that big fight is here in Australia. So if it doesn't end up here, it'll be disappointing for Australia locally, but still a great opportunity for everyone to travel and support Tim in the US.
Have you had a chance to speak to Tim? I imagine he was pretty happy with this outcome.
Great result. Yeah, he was stoked. I think we all were. We all were. We know how much work went into making this happen. We know how hard it was to get to it, and it's where he wants to be. Tim is striving for greatness with every fight, and this puts him straight back into where he should be. Tim should only ever be fighting for world titles. He is the best in the division, so that's the way that his career should be continuing to progress. And I'm really glad that it was able to end up this way, and I know he is too. I think I'd hate to be his next two sparring partners, because they'll be getting the best of Tim Tszyu.
Fights on the weekend, Terence Crawford. What did you make of his performance?
Yeah, look, good fight. Terence Crawford really showed his class. I thought Madrimov fought a fantastic fight. I thought, for where he's at right now, I thought his strategy, his plan was fantastic. He did everything he could to make it difficult for Crawford. Crawford's a pound for pound king coming up to the division, and he showed his class and deserved the win.
Did you see any flaws at 154? does it give you added confidence that Tim Tszyu could match it with him if they were to fight in the future?
I'm confident that Tim Tszyu beats everyone. I'm confident that there is no one in this division that can beat Tim Tszyu. And I know that it'll be a great fight. It'll be a really good fight. Terence Crawford, pound for pound king, acknowledge that. And, he's got a fantastic record. But anybody who gets in the ring with Tim, I think you're facing defeat. So I look forward to that fight happening in the future. I thought Terence looked very fast still very fast. I thought the size didn't seem like too much of an issue for him. Madrimov's a strong guy, and Crawford was able to, to handle that size and work away the victory.
Turkey Aleshikh put out a tweet last night. Did you have a chance to see that? What did you make of it? And have you guys spoken to him in the past?
Yeah, look, there's been conversations in the past. We've been on a different journey. As you see, we've been working towards this IBF result, and we're able to get it less than 24 hours after the tweet. We're able to showcase what we've actually been working on. We want to win world titles. We want to be fighting for world titles, and we've done that work. I get where he's coming from. Terence Crawford is his Riyadh season ambassador, and he's obviously going to be very pro Terence Crawford and do everything he can to make sure that Terence gets the best fights. And I respect that. I respect what he's doing for boxing. But right now, we've been focusing on working towards this IBF World Title. We've now been mandated. Next up, we're going to fight for it and win it, and then we can have some more conversations straight after that.
Tim's lost to Fondora. There were a lot of critics of yourself and the team about perhaps not securing that rematch straight away. Do you feel vindicated now that you've been able to land Tim a title fight elsewhere?
Well, I think if we were waiting for Fondora still, it'd still all be up in the air. It'd still, when that's going to happen, would still be up in the air. We know that we've got a date for this fight. We know that we've got an opponent locked in. Actually, we don't have the date locked in yet, but that'll be coming very soon. We know that we've got the opponent locked in for this fight, and we're going to fight for the IBF World Title. Fondora, he still doesn't have a set time on when he'll be ready to be back in the ring, and you know what Tim's like. Tim hates waiting around. He wants to be in the ring. He wants to be fighting, and we wanted to get a fight on for him, and the fact that it ends up being for the IBF World Title is even a bigger outcome than what we'd hoped for. Don't worry, Fondora's still on the list. Fondora's still on the list. Spencer's still on the list. Crawford's still on the list. Charlo's still on the list. Everybody is still on the list. So, and I know people aren't as active as Tim. So really, by the time Tim starts going through his own list, they'll all be looking at being ready to have their next fight. So we're happy to slot into line for their next fights.
Nikita Tszyu, 3 or so weeks away now until his next fight, pay-per-view in Sydney. How are things tracking for that event?
Really good. We've actually seen a lot of good support for this event, and I think that the matchups that we have on the card, they're quite mouth-watering, to be honest. It's a really good undercard, but the Nikita and Cohen fight, I think there's a lot of interest around it. There is a lot of support for Cohen Mazudia in this fight, and I like that because I like Cohen. Cohen's a good guy, but I also like what I heard from Tim Tszyu just yesterday. We were yarning about Nikita's camp over there in Vegas, and he said he's noticing the level up in Nikita. And we saw how much Tim Tszyu changed when he started taking his US camps. We saw the rapid progress that he had. Nikita Tszyu's having his first proper US camp, and off the back of that, we're going to see a lot of growth in him. So I'm expecting a really exciting performance, and everything leading up to it is really shaping up for what's going to be a fantastic night on August 28th.
Connor Wallace, Jerome Pamplone, that's a great fight as well.
Great fight, great fight. And I think, Jerome coming off the loss to Malik Zinad, who obviously got to go on and fight for a world title straight off the back of that. The opportunities are there. The opportunities exist. And the fact that we've got these two guys who are probably the two best guys in the region, in the Australasian region, fighting for a world title eliminator. It's huge, and it really gets a chance for one of them to stamp their name on who deserves to be there.
Michael Zarafa, Tommy Brown, a bit of criticism around the fight. What are your thoughts on it? Obviously a stepping stone for Michael to get back up there into contention, but do you see why there has been some criticism?
Well, Michael Zarafa came off a heavy world title fight loss. That was a heavy knockout, and he really, you know, he really does need to have a bounce back fight. Tommy Brown's looking for a fight. Tommy Brown wanted this fight, so Tommy's got a very respected credentials here in Sydney, in particular. He's very well supported here in Sydney. He's got a great fan base, and I think if Zarafa thinks that Tommy Brown's going to be a walkover on August 28th, he'll get a rude shock because the whole crowd is going to be against him. Tommy Brown will have a great support there, and he's been in battles before. He's faced some great opponents, and he's going to look to take that limelight off Michael Zarafa. Michael Zarafa still wants to be acknowledged as a great Australian boxer, and I think this is a chance for him to show that he's back and that he's ready for big fights.
Where does he sit in terms of, I guess, the ecosystem there? Is it a Nikita fight? Is that the end goal for Michael with you guys, or?
I think there's huge opportunities there. If he shows that he's still, one of the top guys getting around in Australia, then it puts him in the mix for a lot of people. He's he was a number one world rated middleweight. We've got guys like Matteo Tapia there. There's really good middleweights here in Australia. So he can still make the super welterweight division. So there's really good fights in the super welterweight division as well. And Nikita Tszyu, a guy who I'm pretty sure he'd love to get the opportunity to fight him as well, given the chance. So we'll see what happens there. But what he needs a stellar performance on August 28th to show to the country that he's not just a mouth that people might want to hate on. He's a guy who's a very dangerous boxer, and we've seen what he's done in the past. We saw what he did to Hardman. There was a lot of talk leading up to that fight, and he got a KO victory over Hardman, and he can fight. He absolutely can fight. He's just got to put on the performance and remind Australia of his talent.
Jai McAllister, obviously that disappointing pullout from Jennebeck a few weeks ago. Any update on what could be next for him?
Yeah, look, there's a bit in the works for Andre. Very disappointing the way that result ended for him. He'd prepared really well for it. He was actually, in the best shape of his career and ready for a huge fight. So, really disappointing the way it ended up. But we're working on a positive outcome for him at the moment, and you can expect to see him back in the ring very soon.
Sam Goodman, what's the latest there? Inouye's going in with Dehenny in about a month's time. Expect to see Sam back November, October, December, perhaps.
Yeah, well, he got his hand worked on. Obviously, after the last fight, the injury that he sustained, so he's in recovery, but still training at the moment. So I think he was back on the pavement. I think he ran something like 10 Ks 2 days after surgery. So he's zoned in. I love hearing that's what he's doing. I love that attitude. It shows that he's ready for world title opportunities. He'll be watching very closely on that fight with TJ, and seeing how that goes, and then I think he'll have a real good understanding of what he thinks of what the team plans to do against Inoue.
Beauty. I think that'll wrap us up, mate. What's the next sort of week or two look like for you?
Well, we'll be working hard on Tim's stuff. Nikita's stuff's looking really good. The Nikita fight, the Nikita Cohen fight is all shaping up really well. So that's humming along nicely. A lot of work's been done to that, but it's humming along nicely. And now we've just got to get Tim locked away. As soon as we get that locked away, we'll build out a great undercard, whether it's here in Australia or over in the US. If it's in the US, we'll look to take a few guys over for that undercard as well.
Nice one. Thanks so much, mate.
Too easy, too easy.